Let's get started. It is the time, and would like to not take up too much of everybody's time. I imagine some people will be joining as we start here. So, thank you very much to everybody for attending the webinar today. Uh, Brian and I felt it was a good time, and Mike, we're pleased to have Mike Sutton with us today, special advisor to Northstar Gold. Um, we've come to the end of what we think is a successful phase one exploration program since going public on Northstar Gold on the Miller flagship gold property. And we just thought it was a really good time to update people and let them know specifically why some of the technical people with the team feel that we've had some great results. And nobody better to do it than two very experienced geologists up in the Abitibi. We have Brian Fowler, he's the CEO of Northstar Gold Corp. And we also have a special advisor to Northstar Gold Corp, Mike Sutton. Both very experienced geos, particularly in the Abitibi Greenstone Belt and with some discoveries to the combined credit. So that's about it. Brian has got the screen and he's going to run through a little bit of information first. And then Mike's got some really pretty leapfrog graphics and such that he'll explain what he sees here. And then I think we'll talk a little bit about the plans going forward in the next phase of exploration. Just a note here: there's a lot of people on the call, so if you could leave it, yourselves on mute wherever possible. That'll really help with background noise and that. If you do have a question to ask, at the bottom of your screen, there is a chat function. And if you hit chat, and you can either respond directly to me, Derek Wood, or to everyone if you like. And at the end of the call, we'll go through as many questions as we can, and we hope to wrap up here in about 45 minutes. So that's it. Ryan, why don't you get us started? And then thank you very much, everybody, for participating today. Cheers.
Okay, no, thanks, Derek. Thanks for the introduction. Thank you to everyone who's taking the time to tune in to our presentation. I will be making some cautionary statements. So prior to going public by way of an IPO at the beginning of the year, Northstar operated as a private company for 11 years, primarily in northeastern Ontario and more lately in the Kirkland Lake district. The company has 300% owned projects. Our flagship project is the Miller Gold property. It's 18 kilometers southeast of Kirkland Lake and Kirkland Lake Gold's Macassa South Mine Complex. We also own the Bryce Gold property. It's about 35 kilometers to the southwest. It's on the Rideout Break, where we've had a fair bit of drilling in the past. I'll talk about that briefly at the end of the talk. And our third property is the Milestone Copper Nickel Cobalt property situated on Temagami Lake area. Part of our going public initiative involved augmenting the board and management group for Northstar. You can see from this slide that we've got a very accomplished group of mining professionals, exploration development, capital markets, investment banking, and finance. Very pleased today to have Mike Sutton, who is special advisor to the company, and the benefit he'll be walking us through the Miller Gold property and Kirkland style deposits in general. Mike, if people aren't aware of that, won Prospect of the Year for Ontario in 2006 for the discovery of the Macassa South Mine Complex. Our share structure as it stands, we have 38.8 million shares out, 47.3 million on a fully diluted basis. Just under half, 47% of those shares are held by management directors and insiders. We have a small institutional base. Our cash position is just north of $500,000 right now, and we have no debt. Since we went public at the beginning of the year, we've had a fairly steady news flow over the last 9 months. We closed the IPO, as I mentioned, on December 31st, 2019. Initially started trading right after that. In early February, we commenced what turned out to be a 5,000 meter, 28-hole drill program on the Miller property. Towards the end of March, we closed the $1 million flow-through financing to get some flow into our treasury to offset drilling costs. Unfortunately, on April 4th, we had to suspend drilling on the Miller property owing to COVID-19 complications and concerns. And during that time period until mid-June, we managed to process and report results from a number of holes, 13 holes that were drilled 1,800 meters up to that point. Results including 18 grams over 3.9 meters on the number 1 vein on the Miller property. In mid-June, we commenced a very integrated $350,000 geophysics program involving 3D IP, mag, and gravity. And then towards the end of the month, we resumed drilling at Miller. On September 2nd, the company announced the results from we completed drilling on August 4th, and on September 2nd, we announced a number of results and new discoveries on the allied, primarily on the allied cyanite, and what turned out what we're now calling the allied cyanite gold zone. We got some narrower high-grade intercepts that are part of very broad lower grade near surface intercepts that highly suggestive of we got the makings of a near surface open pit type mineral resource or on associated with the allied cyanide. And just last Friday, we announced the remainder of our drill hole results. We had 5 holes outstanding, and those were primarily from the planet cyanide. That included 31 grams gold over 0.7 meters and 15 grams over 0.8 meters. These two higher grade zones bookended a broader silicified zone within the allied cyanide that runs 1.9 grams per ton over 22.6 meters. So I'll just make a few notes about the comments about the Miller and hand things over to Mike. The property is 18 kilometers, I mentioned, southeast of Kirkland Lake and Kirkland Lake's South Macassa Mine Complex. Northstar acquired this property by staking in 2012. Since that time, we've got about $3.7 million in exploration on the property. We've drilled about 55 holes and about 10,500 meters of drilling. The Miller property overlays the historic Boston Creek mining camp. It's 1,100 hectares. We've got, there's 11 shallow shafts on the property and about 1 kilometer of workings that was chasing primarily high-grade gold telluride mineralization in mafic volcanics on the property. This work was on what was called the Miller Independence Mine, which had its zenith at the early 1900s. And with that, I'll hand this over to Mike, and let's hope we can do this fairly easily. Okay, Mike, where are you? Nice thing. All right, Mike, you got the keys.
All right. There we go. I'll just, I've added a couple of slides in here that, you know, just to clarify some things. But one of the things that's interesting is the Miller has an element called calaverite. It's a telluride, and it's along with the gold, and it's pretty rare. You don't see that every day around the world in gold camps, but where you do find it is in Kirkland Lake. And you know, the whole camp has well, the whole main break deposit, all the 7 mines that were in Kirkland Lake, they all have calaverite, but like I say, it's fairly rare. The only other places, you know, this is a major structure. This black line here, the Cadillac Larder Break, you know, goes for hundreds of kilometers, and you've got Rouen, Val-d'Or, and you know, Matachewan along it. The only place you find this calaverite is in Kirkland Lake. And just to the west of Kirkland Lake is a town, Swastika. It had several mines in it, along structure. And the only other place is Miller. So the 3 of them have that in common, the 3 areas. And I don't think it's a coincidence that the structure the main structure that Miller's on, this Catherine Fault, it comes up and joins the Larder Lake Break right where Swastika is. So we think, you know, it's the same fluids that, you know, that gave Kirkland Lake the 25 million ounces, and, you know, it's got another 5 million in resources, so 30 million ounces. That, you know, it's it's the same fluid system that gave the gold endowment to Miller. Now, it's not just the fact that there's calaverite there, but there's also intrusive rocks, like we're talking about these cyanites, allied cyanite, planet cyanite that we just drilled. Those are the same age and the same composition as the intrusions that are in Kirkland Lake as well. And so I'll just, I'll show you those intrusions here on this next slide. You can see there's the allied cyanite. Here's the planet cyanite, and there's a third one that's, you know, it's only got a couple holes in it, the Milieu. So basically, these three cyanites are sticking up, but they're alkali intrusives, which is, again, it's not that common to find these types of intrusions around the world. So I'll go to this next slide, and it just shows, I added these in. It's not on the website, but basically, there's some big camps around the world that have this, you know, calaverate with, you know, in with the gold. And the biggest ones, you know, are Cripple Creek in Colorado and Kalgoorlie in Australia. Kalgoorlie is like a, you know, 1 million ounce producer every year for the last, I don't know, 20 years or whatever. It's you know, a world-class deposit, as is Cripple Creek and Kirkland Lake. So it's not too often you get this, but here we are, calaverite. And where do you get it? Golden Gate, which is Swastika, the mines in Kirkland Lake, and then the Miller Independence. And the only other place you get it is in a spot in Quebec, which again we have some. Now I'm going to go back one slide here. I didn't mention this, and it is kind of important. You see in red here, this is what's called the #1 vein. And it's a flat vein that is right on surface. We've got a couple photos of it. You know, it's the sidewalk of gold, if you will. It's a flat-lying vein that dips down and goes into this allied cyanide, and then it just blossoms right out. Eh? Anyway, there's an historical resource on it, 270,000 ounces. But what's good about this, you know, is the grade. It's 11.5 grams gold. So it's, you know, there's not many places you can get high grade, even around Kirkland Lake. Kirkland Lake's high grade, but everything around it's, you know, it's not, you know, this kind of grade. And you know, next door, there's another producer. It's not on our property. It's called the Barry Hollinger. But if you look at the grade that it produced, 11.2 grams. So this is a high grade area. And, you know, a lot of our drilling is coming up with some bonanza grades, which is what we're expecting. So what you've got is this #1 vein. You can see it here. There's that, what I was talking about, the, you know, sidewalk of gold, if you will, but it's a flat-lying vein. You can get out of your truck, walk 100 feet, and there's visible gold right on surface. And again, you can't say that about too many other places. You know, you can see the dip on the vein here. There was a bulk sample taken, and, you know, it was over 5 grams, but it took all this waste rock with it, so it got diluted down. And where it hits this cyanite, the pink, it blows out. But within this cyanite, you don't just have the one vein. You got a whole whack of other veins, and they're just stacked, one on top of the other. And this is just that picture I was telling you about, where you're looking down, and here you can be walking on that sidewalk of gold there, the golden sidewalk. And, you know, like I say, you can just, it's awesome infrastructure. You can drive right to it. Here's a truck right here. There's that pit. And this thing's dipping to the north here. And you can see it's just bush country. So it's, you know, we don't have too many environmental issues or anything like that. It's a great place to work. Now, here's kind of a summary of some of the better results. And it's not just one vein or one small area. It's a whole bunch of different targets across the property, and it's a big property. So we drilled 5,000 meters. Our results are in red here. We've got really wide intersections that are low grade, and you think open pit immediately. You got 118 meters at 1.4 grams, 107 at 1.2. Before, Northstar was doing this drilling, this property was drilled by some other fairly big companies, but Osisko, it was Oban, which is owned by Osisko. They got this 1 gram over 97 meters, and some other really wide intersections. But there's also, like I say, narrower, high-grade intersections throughout the property. And, so for instance, we did get 18 grams over 3.9 meters. Like it's a good thickness, 3.9 grams, but 18 grams is beautiful, right? So 3.9 meters is a really good mining width. But we got 86 over half a meter, and then 12 over 0.9, and then these kinds of numbers, 40 over 1, 14 over 3. So nice narrow numbers. And then again, like I say, both cyanites, the two that have seen most of the drilling, they both have these wide intersections. Like Oban, again, the Planet cyanite, where we just released these results, we got 1.9 over 22 meters. Well, they got 0.6 grams over 147 meters. So, it has a lot of legs to it, these cyanites. Now, I'm going to show you why the camp is, or this property has, like I say, it's got a lot of similarities to Kirkland Lake, but it also has similarities to another major camp, and that's in that's the Sigma Lamac camp. Produced like 10 million ounces. I'll get around to that in a second, but this is just a plan view showing where we've drilled and where these results have come from. So the pink here is the allied cyanide. This is where we've done most of our work. We did a few initial holes up in here. They were really short little holes. This is that flat vein where you have the sidewalk, that right here we see surface trace, the number 1 vein. That's where you have your sidewalk of golden sidewalk. And it's dipping down this way. And it's, this is where we got 3.9 meters, 18 grams. And there's some other really nice high grade values. This is where that 270,000 ounces historical resource comes from. Nothing in the allied cyanide was included in that. So basically, it's all upside. What's it? What we're getting with this wide stuff. Now we don't have a resource yet or anything close to it, but we need to do more drilling, and that's why we want to get into phase 2. Now, this is a nice diagram. It just shows you the lay of the land here. You've got this flat vein coming down. It's really high grade up here. Surface comes down. It's the purpley color. That's the intrusive rock. And when it hits it, it blows out. And we got up in this 1.4 over 118 meters. Like we got some really spectacular numbers in these flat veins. There's a whole series of them here. And I think this one here was the one that ran like over 19 grams over 4.5 meters. So you've got some spectacular numbers that are high grade along these veins, but there's lower grade, like a halo all around it sort of thing. So, you can kind of picture, an open pit type scenario here, eh? But you can also picture high grade mining just of the narrow veins. You can get both. And in this next diagram, it's showing you some of these intersections. And here again, you can see this is where it's 4.4 meters of 19.4 grams in this vein number 3. Here's vein number 1, which is the one that continues on. And then there's other ones. There's this vein 2 up near surface. And there's more below. Like these things, there's a whole series of them. Now, the the strike length of this is about 200 meters. This diagram here, you can see it here, about 200 meters strike length. And you've got high grade, like I say, 1.4 over 118 meters on one end. And on the other end, you got 107 meters of 1.2 grams. So it's pretty consistent. Now, we don't have a lot of drilling going to the northwest or southeast, but the holes where we do have a few of them, they're all showing some good numbers. Now, this is just a diagram showing you from the side the actual trace of the number 1 vein, and you can see it coming down. The pink here, that's the intrusion. And where it comes into the intrusion, it gets really high grade and wide in through here. Here it's narrower, here it's wide. And there's you can see all of these other veins, individual veins, you can picture it. Well, I've colored them in here or put the traces of them. We're only showing you, we've only modeled like 4 of them, but you can see a whole whack of them. They're all parallel to one another, and they're open. There's more, you'd expect more. The other thing that's good is that we had this flat vein, and that was all the early drilling. You can see a lot of holes up here, shallow holes, but you can see how they all ended, and nobody tested to see if there's more parallel veins out here. And it turns out we're getting some hits up here along one of these other veins. So there's no reason you shouldn't expect a whole bunch more of these veins in the sweet spots to blossom out as well. Now this is a plan view looking down, and basically there in purple is that intrusion. That's where we've done most of our drilling. But this is just to show you the number 1 vein by itself. So, you're just looking down at it, and the nice hot spots, they're orangey, reddish areas. That's where you get the highest grades and the widest. It's actually a grade thickness contour thing. So these numbers is the grade times the thickness. You got here it's 330. Here it's 46. Those are really good numbers, Here it's 32. But you can see the trend. There's these plunges. So if you drill along these things, you should get good results pretty continuously. And it's wide open. This is you can see the scale here. There's 300 meters. So this thing so far is about, I think we've got 800 meters, and it's wide open in every direction. So, pretty promising. Now I'm going to see if I can go to one of these 3Ds here. Let's see. Yeah, I'm just going to show you. This is a same thing. It's a 3D. I hope it doesn't slow down too much, because sometimes when you put these on, it slows everything down. You can rotate it around, and this is looking from the side at these same thing. There's the main vein. Here's these other flat veins that are parallel. What's really cool is that the whole property, you can see all the holes, virtually all of them are vertical. Well, the thing is, if you look in plan view, I'm going to rotate this around so you're looking in plan view. So we were just looking at a slide that's kind of like that in plan view. And so this is at, about 800 meters. And there's the intrusion here. There's the other intrusion here. That new drilling we did, by the way, that we just put out on Friday, that's a different intrusion. It's not, so far, it's not known to be related to this one, but you can see there's no drilling in between. And that's important, because there's nothing to say that these two don't join up and you don't have the same thing all the way along. But what's interesting here is that you've got a major structure coming through here. That's the main structure that we think is controlling the gold, called the Catherine Fault. And there's no holes drilled through it. And the thing is, even if there were any holes near it, all the holes, almost all of them are vertical. So you wouldn't have hit that fault. So, what we're hoping to do with the second phase of drilling, besides filling in more of this syenite and the other syenite, is to drill in between, but also to drill some of these vertical things. And the reason is because we think we've just hit a vertical zone here, and that was in our earlier drilling, we hit this zone coming through here, and it looks to be steep. And that's important. Like if you want to mine something, I mean, these are high grade. You can make money at flat veins, but you make a lot more money at vertical veins. And so let me just go back to the 3D here, and I'll show you what a, whoops. Well, this is another 3D. Basically showing you the grades. There's some really good grades where the zones blow out in here, 116 grams, 24. You can see there's a vein coming right through there. But here, let me just go back to that, to our, where is it here? Where we go? Oh, there we go, to our presentation. This is the latest drilling. We were drilling this planet, a cyanide. Here's that fault zone I was just telling you about, this vertical. And again, you know, no holes through it. So we want to drill these vertical structures. But we drilled in here, and there were some good numbers previously. These are the previous numbers, 12 meters of 6.3 grams. This is that wide zone, that old band, that'd be a Cisco, 147 at 0.6, right from there to there. Our drilling that we just did, we got good numbers in here, and we got the 1.9. This would be the 1.9 over 22. So, you know, a lot of the good numbers were up here. Well, this is down here. So it looks like the whole thing is mineralized, just like the other cyanite. And you've got these structures, again, that haven't been tested. So, you know, we'd like to do that in phase 2. Now, this is the IP work that we did. This is the geophysics, and it shows up conductors. So, you know, if you've got sulfides in the rock with the gold, which we do, it should conduct, and that's what this is showing. It does conduct. There's the allied cyanide. There's the planet cyanide. But what's really exciting is it shows it continuing almost right through here. And here's the main structure. So it's paralleling the main structure, and it's a conductor that goes way past any drilling that we've done. Plus, it shows that there's something in between the two cyanides. And the magnetics also shows something continuous through here. So, you know, this is a really nice target, and, you know, we're planning to do some work on that. Now, I was telling you that you know, this property has something in common with the, you know, the Lamac Sigma complex, which is, you know, pretty world famous. It's about 10 million ounces between the two of them. And I don't know if everybody here remembers, but it was only a couple years ago, El Dorado took over in Integra, and I think they paid 550 million bucks for their property. What they have are a bunch of these plugs, these cyanide plugs. They're the same size as what we've got. This is allied cyanide. I'm not showing the planet cyanide, but it's about the same size. Well, these plugs are about the same size. And they've got a major structure nearby, just like what we do. And they've just from one of these plugs, they've produced 3.7 million ounces of gold. Now, the thing is, we've been drilling and we've been finding a whole pile of these flat veins all stacked one on top of another. What we don't know is if there's some steeper stuff. And it's the steep stuff that got Integra taken over by El Dorado, because people always like, you know, it's easier to mine the steep stuff than the flat stuff. Open pit, it doesn't matter, but from underground standpoint, it's cheaper to mine vertical, you know, steeper veining. You can long hole mine it, which is a cheap mining method. So this is what Integra had originally. You see in the gray here, a whole whack of flat veins within a cyanide plug. Then they found out that they also had these steep veins. Well, we're at the stage where we know about the flat ones, but we don't know if we have these steep ones yet. Now we've discovered one, or at least we think we have one, and where there's one, there's got to be more. So, you know, it was as soon as they discovered these steeper ones, like I say, that's when El Dorado took them over. So it has a lot in common, this property, with that you know, that complex there, Sigma Lamac complex. And but it has more in common with this area, which is Macassa. This is the Macassa mine. This is a new south zone drilling. They got, these are structures, the amalgamated break and the main break are splays off of the Larder Lake break. Well, we're on a splay off the Larder Lake break, but it's to the south. That's the Catherine Fault. And, both areas, both where Macassa is and where we are, have this, calaverite, which is like I say, a type of telluride. And they're like, and it shows it here too that, they're basically, you've got the, you got the structures, the fluids come up along these structures and, carrying the gold. So, basically if you're looking for big ore bodies, what you want to see is structure and you want to see intrusives and potentially you want to see a bit of folding. Those are the three things that usually give you big deposits. And so, we think we've got, all this in spades. It's just a matter of drilling it off. And, so it's early days, we've started, we've had some really good success, but maybe I'll hand it back to Brian here and he can summarize that, and then we can go to the questions. Well, Brian, you're gonna show them the other properties as well.
Yeah. So maybe yeah, thanks. That's awesome, Mike. Yeah, and if that's all in this, then I'll just carry on with yours here. But
yeah,
no, that's an excellent summary. So like I said, our phase one, we ended up drilling 28 holes, 5,000 meters, about a $1.7 million program. And as I mentioned, we had a couple fits and starts with it due to COVID, but we managed, we accomplished what we set out to do, and I'm very pleased with the results that we've got in terms of the new discoveries and some of the grades. We confirmed narrow high grade gold and tellurides occurring on the property, as well as like you mentioned, the broad lower grade intercepts associated with the allied intrusion. And I'm sure by the end of the day, the planet's going to be delivering up some of those zones as well. We completed drilling. We made a number of important discoveries. We got our geophysics done, and all that data has been provided to Gold Spot Discoveries Corp, who are currently processing all of our geophysical data and integrating the geological, the drill hole data, and all the geophysics into 3D models that they can apply their in-house AI algorithms and routines, and we are expecting the results of their work by the end of October. And the results of that work are going to be a big part of directing phase 2 drilling for us. We have a number of obvious places to drill just from the work that we've done in phase 1, but we're really looking forward to seeing the results of Gold Spot's work, which will really provide some exciting targets, I'm sure. We're also looking at taking on a surface stripping program later this month, early November. I know we're getting late in the season, but mechanical stripping is very effective on the property. We don't have a lot of overburden. We've got a number of new zones and grab samples and veins that have been returned some really good numbers that we'd like to get back in. And certainly now with the results of the phase 1 drilling on Allied, we like to get in and maybe try to get some trenches on the west flank of the Allied cyanide. We're positioning now to undertake this second phase of drilling, which we'd likely commence in October, later this month or early November. We're looking at initially about 4,000 meters and 15 holes. Can you move that forward?
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Yeah, so in addition to all of that, and I hope there's some questions on Miller, but just changing channel here just for a short period of time. As mentioned, the company also has two other 100% owned properties. The Bryce property, it's on the right out break, 35 kilometers southwest of Miller. It's a 5,000 hectare property. and Northstar's drilled about 20, I believe it's about 24,000 meters of drilling to date. The company actually was contemplating going public on it back a few years back, but the results and just the market didn't really support that, didn't make sense, and Miller certainly makes a lot more sense to in terms of what we've accomplished and what we're doing. So Bryce, consequently, up till now, since we've gone public, we really haven't done anything with it, but we will be taking a look at the data and validating and verifying things and grooming this property for either farm out or a spin out. And our other property is the Milestone Copper Nickel Cobalt property. It's the Temagami Lake area. It's an old tech property. It's got a historic estimate on it. And I'll show more about that in a bit here. You want to go to the next slide there, Mike?
Yep.
So on the Bryce, you can see we've got two styles of mineralization. You've got an intrusive hosted gold, some very broad lower grade intercepts. On the Sunday Creek Porphyry, we've got some numbers of 0.86 grams over 80 meters. With including 2.09 grams over 25.5 meters. We also got 1 gram over 56 meters. So these are pretty incredible results that definitely warrant follow-up exploration. The Bryce also has precious metal enriched VMS signature. We're getting some zones that the Pike Lake zone. 2.36 grams gold, 3.37 silver, and a zinc component over just under 16 meters. So we've got like I mentioned, we've got a very extensive database here that we need to get our minds around and clean this up and get a 43-101 on this property so that we can monetize it going forward. Our last, I think the next slide, Mike, is just a quick slide on the Milestone Copper Nickel Cobalt property. It's on, like I mentioned, Temagami Lake. It's an old tech property. It does have a historic estimate, some near surface, very compelling intercepts and results. So again, we've got a LiDAR that we flew over this. We're going to be putting a 43-101 around this as well, and the company will be exploring opportunities to advance this either by farm out or spin out. And I think that's all. What do we got? What do we got next there, Mike? Yeah, so I guess in summary, hope that we've convinced everyone that or demonstrated that Northstar's got a very highly a portfolio with extremely high potential for both gold as well as for base metals. The Miller has some very important and close analogs, being the Macassa, Kirkland Camp, as well as the Sigma Lamac mines. I think we've got a very strong argument that, and the results to date, we're just starting, but they're very, very encouraging, and clearly the thumbprint of the style of mineralization on the Miller is large enough, and it's got the grades that could demonstrate the likely existence of a very large resource on the property, gold resource on the property. So I mentioned that the drill program and this past phase 1 program was highly successful. I'm very pleased with the number of zones, the structures that we've defined. We've got Gold Spot working on things. Like I said, we're really looking forward to seeing what comes out of that for directing our next phase of drilling. Company's share structure remains very tight. We're very cognizant and proud of that, and we want to keep it that way. We've had great news flow. We've had a few hiccups along the way with the drilling and with getting assays, but we're not alone in that. You can look at a lot of other companies that are experiencing the same difficulties in terms of all COVID-related issues. And yeah, so I think in combination with our portfolio and our share structure and the management and directors of the company, that Northstar represents a very compelling investment opportunity in the resource sector. So that's all I got. I don't know if we can go back to Derek, or if we want
Sure,
to.
well, there's been a few questions is all that, maybe we could,
Yeah, absolutely.
coming in a little bit now. So I'm just going to back up to the first one here. I think people did as they were asked and waited to the end. So they're all coming now. But somebody asked, what is the time frame for the second phase of drilling, and what is the length of the drilling season up there?
Well, we'd like to commence drilling as soon as we can. We kicked off in February of last year, so we can, as I mentioned, our intention is to try to get going here at the end of this month. More likely it's going to be middle of November. And you can pretty much drill year round. It's got road access to the property. I envision phase two to kick off, like I said, maybe in mid-November, and drill up till Christmas at least. Maybe take a bit of a break during Christmas, but get right back at it here shortly after. So there's no issue. We have a lot of water availability on the property, and you don't get that much snow, and yeah, so it shouldn't be an issue.
Okay, great. Another question here. Geez, I kind of like to answer it a bit, but you can, Brian. He's just saying that the market was disappointed on our last news release, and you know, look, he assumes you have to finance, and how do you intend to do that without too much dilution? And why is it the story, in his opinion, has not lived up to expectations?
Oh, those are tough ones. Yeah, no, I took a lot of heat over this last the last news release. You know, you take a stand back and look at this thing. Like, we drilled 28 holes. I still stand by the fact that we had some excellent results. The last result documented 5 holes out of the lot, and so they're on the planet Cyanite. They're 1.5 kilometers away from the Allied. They're well removed. This is we're hoping it's part of the Allied system, but we've got 1.5 kilometers of undrilled, very high potential strike potential between these two intrusions. So, like I said, it's early days. There's 55 holes that have been drilled on the property to date. So, I put this against anything at this stage. I think our results are very good. You're going to get your disappointments. You're going to get your lower grades. What I like about the planet is that while we didn't really get broad intercepts like we did in the Allied, that's fine. Some of the coarsest gold that we've ever seen on the property came from this drilling on the planet. So clearly there's gold, and coarse gold is a very nice problem to have. It's problematic, but it's a good problem to have. And we're very close to the Catherine Fault. Now, I don't know if the planet, reason we're seeing coarser gold in the planet is due to proximity to the Catherine Fault. I think it is. And to me, that just indicates that it's just a prime exploration target. Both the Catherine Fault and the Gabbro that you see on the northeast side. Another intrusive body that's going to behave brittly. There's going to be all kinds of room for mineralization traps, gold traps along the length of that. So this is early days, and I think if people are upset or disappointed with the planet, well, it is what it is. But like I said, I still stand by the fact that I think Miller's an excellent alkalic intrusive gold system, and it's early days.
Okay.
I'd like to hear what you have to say, though, there, Derek.
What's that?
What are your comments on that?
Well, it's kind of bizarre, actually, the way this is performed. I mean, the amount of volume that we've traded out of the grade. I think the results were fantastic, and I don't know, maybe they need a new IR guy, because I don't know what else we can do. That's about it. But I think, like you say, it's early days, and it's sort of one thing I think that Northstar really has going for it from a broker point of view. I was a broker many years. Is we still have a fantastic share structure. When Mike talks about Antigua getting taken out by Eldorado at the Sigma Lavac, they did so with like 600 million shares out. Well, we have less than 40 million shares out right now, and they're already starting to find some of these vertical structures, and odds are there's a lot more. So I think all we have to do is just keep on plugging away and getting the story out, and I think we've done a good job. The market sometimes just trades a little funny, but sooner or later, I think that the value will be here, and it's got the potential for a multi-million ounce discovery. What else can we have? There's just a couple of more questions, and when he's talking about what is the deepest that this property has ever been drilled, and given he says that in the area, and you can speak to this, but he says in the area it seems like grade gets deeper at depth. Is there any deeper drilling planned for the upcoming program?
Yeah, we're definitely going to follow up and step out along the east and west flanks of the Allied Cyanite, where we got those broad zones. On the west side, hole 47, we got it's one of the first holes drilling that side of the intrusion, and we've got all kinds of room to step out along strike, both to the north and to the south, or at least along trend. So I'm pretty excited about that. So I'd like to test not only along trend but at depth. But I think right now there's no question in my mind that there's depth potential on this. But what I'd really like to do is to demonstrate that there's a very significant, especially if we're drilling the lower grade kind of stuff, that there's excellent there's a good deal of near surface mineralization that that we can triple or quadruple the size that we have so far on the Allied, indicating how much room we have for that style of mineralization. So I'm very excited about drilling the Catherine Fault. As Mike said, that it's similar to the main 04 break and amalgamated break at Kirkland, and they're just finding amazing mineralization associated with that. A little tougher targets. We'll need geophysics to help us with that. But we've got a very strong geophysical signature. We have a gold sulfide relationship, so we have no shortage of targets. Our challenge will be, you want to hit as many of these as you can, and get lucky, and we will get lucky. I think what we've done so far has been very productive, and there's more to come. Okay. Mike, you got anything to say to that?
No, I totally agree. Like it just makes more sense to, target the shallower stuff because it's cheaper, and more open pit type targets first, and then go deeper. But there's nothing stopping any of this from whoever asked that's totally right. The deepest hole on the in the Allied Cyanite, it's only like 150 meters or something. So that's bugger all. A long way to go.
Just a point of clarification, the gentleman that asked about the disappointing results, he's saying he wasn't disappointed at all. He's just wondering why the market was. I didn't realize I had said that wrong, but he wanted me to clarify that. And there's another question. It says, an ideal world, what would you say is a realistic time frame to get to start of production? Won't hold you to it, just assessing what you feel with results so far. So that's sort of a loaded question, I guess. But
I've had very poor success trying to predict when we're going to have assays, let alone when we're going to go into production. That's quite a ways out there. We just have to, depends how if we get more really positive results, and then I really want to translate this into a multi-rig program, and hopefully phase 2 will be the start of that, and we'll be able to generate some very early very positive results that will warrant a much more aggressive drill campaign on the property. And then with all of that going on, it just kind of snowballs. So where that ends up, at some point you have to, hopefully we're defining inferred resources, or getting a good indication for a resource base in a number of places on the property with that work. And then then there comes a time when you want to try to get that into a resource category. But right now we're focused just finding it and demonstrating that you can there aren't occurrences, they're actual zones that can translate into a resource, and we'll go that way. So where we're at now and when we're going to go into production, that just depends, and that'll take several tens of millions of dollars to get us there, if we're lucky. So
yeah, and of course you want to try to do that. Kind of leads into one of the last questions keeps coming in here. People are just asking about financing. You know, how are we going to do all this with our current financial situation? And you know, you can speak to it, Brian. I know Brian and I were on the road a long time when the IPO was getting done, and the Canadian market was busy financing and smoking pot. There's a lot more money around. We certainly do have a lot of people with their hands up to finance right now. I guess, you know, yeah, you got to finance plays and you try to do it higher and higher levels. And there will likely be a financing. So if somebody has interested in that, then please contact Brian and myself, and we'll get you on the list. Let you know what's coming up. Nothing's been decided. There is some wiggle room left in the treasury, as I understand it, but. Yeah, there's going to be a finance. Doesn't mean that it's not going to be advantageous to have some free trading shares, and you know, we've got a lot of eyes on the story now, so I suspect that things will things will work themselves out here. Just stay tuned. I just had a few questions on that, Brian. Is there anything? Sorry for hijacking that one, but I spend my day talking about that, so you know.
Oh, no, that's good. As you know, we've had a very strong interest in the financing, and you don't have to be a rocket scientist to see that coming at us. You know, we've gone through you know, the lion's share of our treasury getting to this point. That was always the plan, and we've delivered. So yeah, we have to go back to market, and we will. But I think when, you know, the more astute investors are going to look at Northstar, they're going to look at our structure, they're going to look at what we have going for us going forward. So that's just the way it is. We're not going to blow our structure up and doing you know, monstrous financing. Doesn't make any sense. We're going to do what makes sense for the company and for shareholders. And you know, we've been aggressive on the marketing side, and we'll continue to do that. This story is a good story, and it's being well received, and by people that take the time to actually try to understand it and see what we're doing and where we're going. And we'll just keep doing that. And I feel very positive and confident that we'll be rewarded, even with the next financing when we do call it.
Okay, awesome. And yeah, stay tuned, everybody. Please, you know, sign up on the site, and we'll make sure that you're aware with the financing. You know, when one comes along. And I don't really see a lot more questions. If anybody has another one, just one for Mike. Mike, when you and Stu started to make discoveries up at Macassa for Kirkland and started naming the new zones, what Canadian rock band songs did you name the zones after?
Yeah. Well, of course, they were all named after different, because we're both big fans. Named the veins after Rush songs.
Ah, yeah, cool. Yeah.
Derek, I have a question.
I think.
Oh, somebody's piping in here. Somebody can ask a question. I guess they just unmuted. I didn't see it come across, but go ahead if
I
you're
just unmuted. But has anybody had any conversations with Kirkland at all in terms of the similar geology?
Well,
Mike, yeah, why don't you take that, Mike?
well, I mean, the geology, like I say, is similar in that, you know, the age dating and the type of the intrusives are the same, and the tellurides are the same. You know, the host rock overall at Macassa is a little different because it's in the sediments. This is in volcanics, these intrusives. But other than that, you know, the fluids look to be the same. So, you know, but I mean, I haven't talked to, you know, the guys at Kirkland Gold because, you know, it's too early for us to be approaching, you know, them for, you know, we're trying to build this up and come out with a resource, and that would be the time to go after, you know, Kirkland, see what their interest is, et cetera, et cetera.
No,
We're trying to.
I agree, Mike, and I'm sure they're watching what we're doing, and you know, they're pulling for us. And there's nothing like having a new deposit on the doorstep of where you've got an operation, you know, or in the camp. So but it is early days. And to be truthful, I don't think I want a major company involved with what we're doing right now. We don't need one. But when we get there, I really like the El Dorado deal, $560 million for the Keys. And I think that's our end game with Miller.
Thanks very much.
Unmute. Okay, that's it. We did it pretty much in time. If anybody wants more information, then please check out the Northstar Gold website. They can contact me, Derek Wood, or Brian, and we'd like to do these. You know, every time we sort of have a you know, a major situation, we'll be providing regular updates, and there'll also be a replay of this, shortened and edited a bit, but you know, by all means, pass it around. Call your Conduit Capital Advisors anytime, and we'll get back to you right away if we don't pick up the phone. And please stay tuned. Yeah, there's a lot more to this story left to unfold. So, thanks, Mike and Brian, for taking the time.
Thank you, Derek. Thanks, Mike. Thanks,
Cheers.
everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
I gotta end the call here.
Yeah, I don't know how that.
I think you got the controls there, Mike. You got to end the call.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.